Hey, James, I'm sure you're excited about a new season starting up. You've got a bunch of new players here. Can you give us basically just some opening comments on what you were looking for most when you signed Langston Galloway and Etwan Moore and guys like that to shore up your bench? What are you expecting most out of those guys?
I'm expecting those guys to be who they've been. They've been contributors on some good teams. They've been consistent contributors, but most importantly, they're shooters. I've been very clear about the types of players that we value and the skills and traits that we look for when we're trying to build our team. So having two guys that have been consistently good shooters um, and more importantly, like productive teammates, it was important for us. We wanted to be deep at every position. We wanted to add some depth on the perimeter, knowing that with Chris and Devin drawing a lot of attention going into the season, that there'd be opportunities for guys to come in and step in and make big plays. And we wanted guys that wouldn't be afraid of the moment and that have proven that they can make big plays when it matters.
All right, next up we have Kellen Olson. He'll be followed by Craig Fouey. Go ahead, Kellen.
Hey, Champ. Good to see you. Jay Crowder is a huge signing for you guys in a lot of different ways, experience of being one of them. Can you explain what a veteran like him is going to be able to do for McKellen Cam with the games and situations that he's been in, obviously the finals most recently?
He'll be able to show them how to do it. You learn from experience, or a lot of times you learn from observation. And Jay's been a guy that's been with some really good teams: Boston, Dallas, Memphis, Miami. Most recently, he's proven over his career that he contributes to winning, and that he's willing to do whatever it takes to help his team win. If that's making shots, if that's drawing a defensive assignment, if that's putting his body on the line, if that's playing 38 minutes and attempting two shots, he's a winner. He has that amount of grit that he's developed from just 9 years of real good high level basketball. So I'm hopeful that those guys will get a chance to see his intensity, get a chance to see how he carries himself in a practice setting. I'm hoping that he just brings who he's been, which is a guy that doesn't quit and plays all out all game. And so once again, if he can be an example for Mikal and Cam and show them how to do it when it matters, that's what I expect, and I'm pretty sure that's what he'll deliver for us.
All right, next is Craig Fouey with ABC 15. He'll be followed by Richard Syons. Go ahead, Craig.
Hey, James, can we just talk logistics? How's training camp working? Are you guys at the new facility? Is there any kind of bubble situation with COVID? What logistically does training camp look like?
It's individual this week, and then we'll move into our group setting the 4th. And it's a bubble environment outside of our on-court performance staff, the players and the coaches that execute on game night. Everyone else is on the outside looking in. This is going to be a challenging season for us. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we try to stay COVID free and stay healthy. 72 games in a condensed season with more or increased back-to-backs means that we'll have to manage our time appropriately. So we're looking forward to this week where our guys can be on the court, one coach, one player, trying to get ourselves back into game rhythm and shape, and then we'll build up to our 5-on-5 group activities heading into next week.
All right, next up is Richard Syons with Fox 10. He'll be followed by Mark McClune. Go ahead, Richard.
Hey, James, love the background, by the way. But you've made quite a few moves this offseason, all of them making sense, and you kind of explained why. How much excitement is surrounding you and this team just to kind of, I would imagine you're like an architect who visualizes what the building's going to look like, but now you bring in all the pieces there. How anxious are you to get them on the court just to see what they look like together and what these new pieces will help, how they can help?
Well, I mean, our guys are, excited to be a part. The guys that we added this offseason wanted to be in Phoenix, and there wasn't a lot of convincing that I had to do. They've seen the work that Coach Monty and his staff that they put in. They've seen the progression for Devin and the rest of our group, and they wanted to be a part of it. And so I'm excited for them because, this is a competitive environment. So I'm looking forward to watching our guys compete. I know that, we did some things this summer as far as improving the team. Well, but just adding guys to the team is never and has never been the goal. The goal for us is winning, and the goal for us is, I said prior, creating a playoff atmosphere and bringing a playoff approach to every single game. And if we do that with this group, I think the sky's the limit. So we'll get it going really soon. But I'm anxious to see how these position battles play out.
Next up, we have Mark McClune with Channel 3, Channel 5. He'll be followed by Cameron Cox. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, James. Good morning. Actually, two questions. I was curious what that background is behind you. And then second one, maybe just more importantly, just when the vaccine does come out, do you have a current plan, method of operation for how that would be administered to the team and when everybody, might be vaccinated in the Suns, they could take it to the floor for the Suns every night?
Well, this background is Dry Tortugas down in Key West, South Florida. It looks better in color, but I don't look so good when the background's in color, so I'll go black and white. But as far as the vaccine, that would be for our medical professionals. That the vaccine is great for us. Who takes it? Guys aren't obligated to take it. We'll do whatever we can to make sure that we keep our guys healthy and safe and administer it if and when we can for those that want it. But our best course of action is to continue to adhere to the NBA's protocols, to isolate as much as we can, maintain distance, and perform, and exhibit good hygiene. That's all we can do. Just because as much as we can control the things in this building, we'll still be going out into space. We'll still have to interact with other teams, other players. So the hope is that collectively as a league, we can keep this thing under control and try to mitigate the damage that will come from the positive test that eventually will happen.
Next up, we have Cameron Cox with 12 News. He'll be followed by Brendan Clean. Go ahead, Cameron.
Hey, James, good morning. At the end of the bubble, when Monty gave his, passionate speech, he said, "We're not the Suns of old." And it's kind of stuck with me all off season, and it kind of feels that way after the moves that you guys made. How much do you feel that you guys are not the Suns of old and you've created this new culture here with this team?
I mean, well, for me, it's different. I mean, I look at every off season as a new team. When you talk about tradition and what you've been known for, I do believe we're not the Suns of old. We can't recapture what Steve, what Charles, with Dan Marley, with Connie and all the rest of the greats, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire. We can't capture what they did. We can't be them. The only thing we can do is look forward with Devin, with Chris, DeAndre, Cam McHale, our young guys. We need to establish our own identity. And so my mindset for this group is every year we're a different Suns team. We should never look to the past to predict our future. We have to make, our future our present. And I know that sounds crazy, but for me, that means that every guy that puts on a jersey, every time our team steps on the floor, we have to push our reputation. We have to push, our focus forward. And so we are different, and we should be different because this is a different NBA. I mean, this is a different season. COVID, who would have thought that we'd have to overcome all of these challenges just to play this game? And if we aren't a better team, if we don't strive to adapt and change and reestablish, or at least establish our own identity, we'll struggle to be successful.
Next up, we have Brendan Clean with Forbes. He'll be followed by Jose Romero.
Hey, James, you mentioned with regard to some of the positional battles that'll play out over the next couple of weeks, that's just something you're looking forward to with the depth you guys have. But one guy that you did choose to keep from the bubble team was Cam Payne, who you brought on kind of throughout that summer, and then he played so well for you guys. What are your expectations for him, and how do you sort of handle a guy like that who was out of the league and then thrust into that big role, and then kind of figuring out what comes next for him and what role he can play this year?
I mean, I'll let it settle. Position battles will determine all of that. Cam had a tremendous bubble for us. He was a jolt of energy for us. He gave us something dynamically that we didn't have. And I look at the bubble as being a platform for him to continue to develop. But he's an NBA player through and through. You know, he's a highly drafted guy. You know, was young, matured a lot. You know, I think his struggles in the NBA and his time spent away from the NBA refocused him. But I mean, he's unique. I think that's the beauty of the roster as it's constructed. There's not a lot of redundancy. Our guys have similar traits and similar skills, but they're all independent. Like they all have their lane. And so my hope is that, you know, he can establish himself and continue to reestablish himself and bring something to our team, because it's going to happen by committee. You know, outside of Devin and Chris, you know, the rest of our team, these guys are fighting to establish an NBA identity. They've had some NBA success, but they haven't established an NBA identity. And my hope is that by committee, we can establish a collective identity that supports those two guys.
Next up, we have Jose Romero. He'll be followed by Kent Somers with the Arizona Republic.
Hey, James.
Hey.
When people look at this this roster, the revamping and the moves that you made, and you know, maybe the words that come to mind are maybe playoffs or bust or raised expectations. I mean, how do you respond to those types of notions from fans or from those who are in the NBA community and the community at large?
Well, I appreciate their support. I say it again, you know, the goal is never to just win games. The goal is to win a title. In order to do that, you have to win your division at some point. You have to win in the playoffs. You know, that's the goal. The goal is always a title for us. And so anyone that steps into this building, everyone that steps into this building knows that our goal is to win a title. And, you know, for the fans, you know, their expectation should be for us to win the title. That's the only way I know how to play. That's the only way I played. You know, that's my approach. I mean, I think you can ask coach, you can ask our players, you can ask our staff. We don't come in here to just win games. We come in here because we know in order to win a title, you need to win a lot of games. So playoffs, titles, however you strike it, we're here to win games.
Next up, we have Kent Somers with the Arizona Republic. He'll be followed by Greg Moore. Go ahead, Kent.
James, when you mentioned that players won't be required to take the vaccine, is that something the NBA's done in conjunction with the union? And how difficult do you foresee that being in keeping everyone healthy if a vaccine is available?
Well, I won't go into it. I mean, I'm not privy to all of the discussions between the NBA and the Players Association. But as it stands right now, I just don't. I have yet to see anything that says that if we have a vaccine, players will be required to take it. That was my stance. Now we'll do everything in our power to make sure we keep our guys as safe as possible. But as far as forcing them or, you know, mandating that they take a vaccine, we aren't there yet.
All right, next up, we have Greg Moore with the Arizona Republic. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, thanks, man. James, good to see you, man. I'm thinking about you guys and your aspirations of winning a title. You're going to know this 1,000 times better than I ever would. But I've always been taught that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that you shouldn't really focus on the long-term goal. You should focus on every single smaller term goal on the way to that. How do you balance those two different approaches?
Well, I mean, you just have a vision you have to have a vision for what it takes. You know, the long goal is a title. You know, the short goal is to win a game. And if you prepare every day to win games, that prepares you for the long journey of winning a title. And so it's being intentional. You know, Monty says a lot, everything counts. Every day counts, every rep counts. So it's taking that short-term approach of, okay, what's the day in front of us? Like, what are we trying to accomplish in the next 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour? What are we trying to accomplish today, this week? As long as we can stay focused on those small steps, knowing that if we string those small steps together, they'll create wins, the rest will take care of itself.
All right. Next up, we have Kellen Olson with Arizona Sports, and the final question will come from Brendan Clean.
Hey, James, I know you touched on Chris a bit draft night, but to go back to him for a quick minute, fans are really excited, particularly with Chris, to see how his relationship forms with DeAndre and how he can push DeAndre to that next level. Just How do you see that dynamic unfolding? And you yourself, how excited are you to see a Hall of Fame point guard like Chris, to see what he can do with a talent like DeAndre?
Well, I'm excited for DeAndre. You know, I know Chris. I've seen Chris. I've played against him. I know just how good he is, and I've had a chance to see how he elevates all of his teammates, and specifically the big guys he plays with. So for DeAndre, he should be excited because Chris will help bring the best out of him. But you know, it's the journey towards, like I said, establishing an NBA identity. I think Chris will allow DeAndre to do that. He'll help him get there faster, and if he can do that, he'll help our team take a jump this year.
All right, James, our final question of the day comes from Brendan Clean with Forbes.
Sort of another bigger picture question about the season, James. Do you have clarity? What are you expecting as far as if the team will have fans at home games this year?
Not sure. I know that's something we're looking into, but safety comes first, and you know, at the appropriate time, the NBA will give us guidance, and the team will figure out what's best for us and best for the fans. But you know, would love to have them, but you know, safety comes first, and you know, whenever we get our fans in the building, we'll be excited. Until then, we'll try to perform, go out there every single night, make our fans proud, and you know, just play Suns basketball.